Good morning, YouTube, or afternoon, whenever you're watching this. Good news, we're doing a weekly giveaway on our YouTube channel for Amazon gift cards. All you gotta do to enter is like the video, give us a subscribe, and comment below. The more comments you give us on the weekly videos for that week, we go Monday through Sunday, the more chances you have being entered, basically. So I'm going to go through whatever the most creative content is as far as your comments go, and I'll pick a winner, and I'll send you a gift card. It's pretty simple. Free money. Who likes free money? I know I do. Subscribe. Have a good day. Yeah, Cascade Junior High.
Free speech in Britain is dead.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
I mean,
You can get arrested for saying stuff. It's so dumb. I mean,
you can a little bit here, but it's a little. You have to go a little farther.
You have to go way farther than you used to have to.
Yeah.
It used to be easy to get arrested for saying the wrong thing.
I never felt like. You mean here?
Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
never felt like.
At one point in American
Maybe
history,
because I'm white.
it was illegal to defame the president. If you said anything negative about the president, you could be thrown in jail.
What's interesting is, like, remember when Eminem released that song? He'd rather see, the lyric was, "Fuck dead presidents. I'd rather see the president dead."
Yeah.
And that got leaked. And on the actual album, the song so that song got leaked first, right? Before the album came out. And then when the album came out, that lyric was removed. Like even on the not the clean version. I'm talking about like the parental advisory version.
Yeah,
they took
the
that out.
lyric entirely was
bleeped
changed.
that whole. Well, they didn't change it. They just blanked it out. Like they just slid the lyric out. But people still had the original song that was floating around the internet. And like the Secret Service went and interviewed, like had to go talk to him, and it was a big deal at the time. But he obviously did get arrested.
Oh yeah, because you can find that was on Encore.
Oh, yeah, that was a.
We as Americans, and you can find the original uncut. It's on YouTube.
Yeah. Because so many people have it, and it just got uploaded in so many places. You aren't taking that off the internet.
Secret Service. This was in 2003. Oh, why aren't you working?
So yeah, they were like, "Is that a death threat?" But then he was like, "No, it's just music."
What is going on?
Essentially, like I'm sure.
This is weird.
I shortened. I'm sure that's a very short and condensed version of it, but.
So this article was in 2003, but the Secret Service is trying to determine if any action needs to be taken regarding a lyric from rapper Eminem that made a threat to President Bush. The lyric comes from a bootleg Eminem recording, one of several from the rapper made rounds on the internet over the past week. In the song called "We Are American," Eminem sings expletive money. "I don't rap for dead presidents. I'd rather see the president dead." Dennis Dennehy, a spokesperson for the Grammy and Academy Award-winning rapper, told CNN the song was not ready for release. "This was an unfinished song, either lost or stolen," Dennehy said. "There was no determination where, when, how, or if it was going to be used. A Secret Service probe is routine when something that could be construed as a threat to the president is brought to the agent's attention. Dead presidents is a slang for cash because of the depiction of several presidents on the currency. But the reference to seeing the president dead does not specify the president of the United States. We are aware of the lyric and are in the process of determining what action, if any, will be taken," said Secret Service spokesperson John Gill. The music has been circulating on fan sites, on peer-to-peer networks, and in hip-hop chat rooms. There is no indication that the rapper was complicit in the release of this bootleg song. "It would be saying too much to make too big a deal out of this," one Secret Service official said. What the shit?
Huh.
What is that about?
That's not what I said. I said allow the comment.
Did somebody leave a comment that says
Well,
that?
they put that and it got flagged.
Oh, okay.
So I just accepted I read the comment.
It got
and I was like,
flagged automatically by
yeah.
Twitch bots.
Yeah.
Got
So
it.
Accept the thing. Context, Twitch.
Jenny said, post 9/11, I wrote a manifesto about having all Arabs leave America, and this was in a polite, Praduitli. Not quite sure what that word's supposed to be. A Middle Eastern Indian school. Oh, predominantly Middle Eastern Indian school. Lots of fun. I really just did it because the kids were annoying me. I was 10. Oh. Predominantly. I get it now. Undead Unicorn said, I think death threats are understandable, or Automod blocked. Oh, Automod blocked my message. And the message said, and I'm not defending this guy I disagree with, but still, a man posted on Facebook, fuck Muslims, and was arrested and sentenced to prison. You know, if you're going to blatantly use hatred like that, I'm okay with the penalty. I'm okay with it.
So, like, in the gray area on that. Because, like, the problem is when you start setting precedences for certain things, that line just keeps sliding and sliding and sliding.
But that's not a sliding line. That's freedom of speech is just like any other constitutional right. With rights come responsibilities, and with those.
So if I say right now, fuck this orange bucket.
That orange bucket is an inanimate object. It's not a group of humans.
Okay, how about if I just say
If
fuck
you say
Nazis? I would say fuck Nazis.
Yes, that is hate speech.
So, but most people are going to be like, "Oh, we're okay with saying fuck Nazis."
And that's
right?
part of the problem with today's society is people are picking and choosing their rights and wrongs.
I know,
if something's going to be right, it needs to be right across the board. And if something's going to be wrong, it needs to be wrong across the board.
So that's my point. That's my whole point. Why not just go let them say what they're going to say and just chastise them? Why put them in prison for words?
Because
words
hate
aren't
speech
magical.
is breaking other people's. You can say they're not magical all day long, but words are magical in the sense that look at the poetry, look at the Ten Commandments in biblical terms, look at the Constitution.
But those are
they're
all
words put together, so they are magical. The way that we can assemble words to construct an entire life.
Yeah, I get it, but isn't it at the end of the day the individual's responsibility to take what they will from that?
Yes and no. That blatantly disrespecting and disregarding a race or a religion.
It's not that I'm saying like you should say that. I'm not saying that you.
I think there should be some sort of penalty for it.
So with that thought process, shouldn't we all throw all blacks in jail that say fuck whitey?
Absolutely.
But we're not going to.
You know why we're not going to? Because American society has some sort of reparations mindset that we need to let them get okay with disrespecting white people because white people disrespected black people for so long, which is not okay by any means. But that is the social reasoning why it's happening.
But it doesn't make it. This is why like it leads down this slippery slope. Like, where does it stop? Like, is
if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
But if I say something now,
Thumper taught us that.
Well, if you say fuck the president, which you've said many a times on this podcast, like fuck Trump, right? Many a times, or the video playing on the screen, right? I mean that's the same thing, really.
Right.
So if does it go down like 10 years from now? Can they arrest you for that? Is that okay?
Probably.
But I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like, you can just keep going down this slope instead of being like, okay, let them say it. Now.
Disdain for one person is not disdain for a race in general. Like you can't say men are better than women.
So this is where
that's a sexist comment. But if you say
I think where this differs, I think, is if you're saying things and getting a group together, and your words are directly causing action of violence. If your words are directly causing action, like violence and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Then that's where I think the line should be drawn. I don't think it should be drawn at opinion about whatever. It doesn't matter, and it's not that I agree with it or you agree with it.
But if I'm a Muslim and somebody says fuck Muslim, that's infringing upon my constitutional rights.
I don't think so. The reason being is
have you read the Constitution?
No, you can say that, but I mean that's your opinion, right?
That's what I'm saying. I think
if you voice it, in my opinions, Muslims are bad people.
Check one.
That's a completely different thing than saying fuck Muslims.
But people can
Can
say,
a white person get away with saying fuck Negroes?
I mean, they can get it. It doesn't mean I like it, but I mean, what am I going to do?
It's supposed to be illegal.
It's well, there's hate crimes, or I know in what is it, in Denver, Colorado? I think they have the law to where if let's say Sean and I get in a fight, right? And I really would. Oh, you're doing it. Okay, cool.
What?
Cool. Then, because usually you do that when it's showing. You know what I mean?
What are you talking about?
Versus when you do it and then hit transition and then it's just already done. You feel me? Anyway.
No, I'm doing it while it's showing. Everybody's watching me adjust the camera.
If Sean and I got in a fight,
see,
and the cops came, and I'm explaining to the cops, and this is in Denver, Colorado. I'm explaining to the cops.
It's a different law here in Washington.
Yeah, it's a totally different law, but this is the way I think the law should be
Washington has a
here.
mutual combat law.
This is how the law I think should be here in Denver, Colorado. If Sean and I got in a fight, officer comes at the end of the fight, and he says, "What happened?" And I said, "Well, he dropped that M-bomb on me. It wasn't joking. He was just did it just because to be a dick about it, and we ended up fighting about it. I wouldn't get in trouble for punching him because it goes down as it's like not a hate crime, but it's at the same level of a hate crime. But it's with words instead of whooping somebody's ass because they're black or because they're whatever. Right. I can't remember what the fuck the name of the law is.
Do you think that's okay though?
I don't agree with I don't agree with people yelling out any kind of hatred, but at the same time, I know I'm comfortable enough with myself to where words don't necessarily hurt me, especially if
take
I
yourself out of the equation. Though.
No, I know, but first, if I didn't do anything to warrant somebody lashing out at me, I don't take what anybody says to me personally, like I don't get offended because it has nothing to do with me why they're mad. 9 times out of 10, they're mad about something totally different. It's
your decision to be upset. It's your decision to react to it.
Yeah, it's your decision on how to react to it. It's like a comedian. If a comedian tells a bad joke and they're like, well, if they make a joke about Handyman the other day, right? Let's say we get a fucking complaint. Someone's saying, your joke about not about Handyman, but you guys are making light of handicapped people and that offends me. Well, that's not my fault it offended you. You're choosing to be mad at that.
Yeah.
It's like...
It's kind of like if I don't call you by your appropriate pronoun.
Right.
How, like...
If you don't have prior knowledge, like if somebody walked in here that's a girl that used to be a dude.
But even if you do have prior knowledge,
yeah,
is it my responsibility to take care of your feelings? Like
no, but people
point.
want their feelings taken into consideration. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, but
it's not. Basically, you're saying. Basically, you're saying is they're not entitled to have your feelings go the way they want your feelings to go.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. And that makes total sense. It's like, do you see the video of the dude that walked in like McDonald's or a store? And obviously he was in transition. He was still a guy, but he was transitioning. And there was a little argument, like there was an order wrong or something. And the guy's like, he goes, my order's wrong or whatever. And he's like, sir, I'm sorry. And then all of a sudden dude's like, I'm a ma'am. You address me as ma'am or whatever. And the guy's like, ma'am, I apologize. But then the dude wouldn't let it go. He just kept going, I'm a ma'am. And it's like, bro, we get it. It's like, cool. Don't get mad at this motherfucker because he's trying to do his job. And you're choosing to get offended because he called you sir. You're choosing.
Yeah.
That's a choice. The
reaction,
how it makes you feel, you can't help. That I understand. Yeah. But how you take that feeling and then
put it back
and then project it to somebody, that's your choice. Yeah. That's a choice. I don't get mad at people. Somebody come up to me, a big ass nigger, you're a piece of shit. All right, I'm too easy going, but there are people out there that choose to be mad. They choose. Yeah. They choose.
Because the other day,
but hate speech is illegal in by the Constitution.
Hate speech is like if it's an organized if you get a group of people together and they're standing around you in the streets and you're preaching.
That's not what hate speech is though. If somebody came up and said specifically what you just quoted.
That's what we're saying it should be, as opposed to because it's so loose termed. It goes down a fucking weird path.
It does. Super weird.
So where it can lead to the point of like, I have to, like, if is my choice of dating somebody who's transgender, is that if I don't date somebody who's transgender, am I?
Are you against transgenders because you're not dating transgenders?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. You're not
But-
saying
but this
anything
goes-
against the transgender. You're
this
just
goes down
choosing
that
not
path.
to date them. No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
It kind of will though.
That's
People-
like saying if
no,
I
no.
don't sit at the
No,
table
no.
with a bunch of black
But-
people, does that make me racist?
Right?
No,
No, I
let me
agree.
finish,
No,
let
I
me
agree
finish.
with what you're saying, but I hear what he's
so,
where he's going with this.
I'm listening.
they're getting offended, like they get offended about. And when I say they, I'm just
Right.
generally saying. Well, anybody, but in this specific case,
Shit out of me.
in this specific case, I'm saying that like, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Because that sounds.
Fuck, man.
It is a weird rabbit hole you go down when you start to. When people
catch
you're
up on
are
forcing
entitled,
feelings
yeah,
on you.
yeah.
So like,
you're not entitled.
so
you know?
it's kind of like a guy, like a weird situation where a guy and a girl date for a little while, and the girl doesn't want to be around anymore, and the guy acts crazy, right? And so, he feels entitled for that person to love him back, right?
Right.
So, and then he starts acting crazy, and it becomes a dangerous situation potentially. Like
Right.
if it goes down that rabbit hole. What? But so in that way, he's trying to force them to feel a certain way.
Right.
So like like people going, oh, you're transphobic if you're not willing to date a transgender.
Right. And that's not the case.
And
at all.
so they're trying. So a person that says that, and there's lots of people that do. Well, when I say lots, I don't mean like the vast
Right.
majority, but I mean like
Right.
in that community, there's transgenders that or people that support them that say, well, if you're not willing to be a transgender, you're transphobic.
Right.
Well, that's just not my preference, right?
Right.
So by you saying that, does that make me transphobic because you're projecting that I should feel a certain way because I don't?
Right.
That's my whole thing.
There's a difference between stating your opinion, even if you said I don't want to sit at a table with black people, I'm just not comfortable with it.
It
You know,
doesn't
that
mean you're
makes you
racist.
that makes you
But
that
people
does
can
make you
say
a
that-
bigot.
No, it
but-
doesn't make you a racist. It's just you're not comfortable. And
But
then
people
Right,
could
but
say
if you
that you're
say I don't want to
racist,
sit at
or
that
it's hate
table,
speech.
fuck those enters,
right.
that makes
That's
you
different.
a racist, and that is illegal speech.
Right.
But
That
like,
makes it racist, but at the same time, though, bro,
I think a lot of people also could categorize. I don't want to sit with black person because they're black. That could also be hate speech.
Right.
That could be interpreted as hate speech.
right.
And
Because
it
you
comes
have
down
to-
to what's the judge going to decide it is.
Yeah, it's based on someone else's feelings.
Yeah.
Which is why it's such a fucking gray area.
It is a
and
very
it's
gray area.
weird.
It's-
That's why there needs to be a
But it didn't
hard
used to
line.
be so much of a gray area. Obviously, when you're talking about blacks specifically, it was okay to say whatever you wanted because black people weren't considered humans.
At that
At-
point in
at
time.
one
and
point
that's-
in time.
And that's my whole
But
point. Like, where do
if you were blatantly disrespectful towards the president or any government official, immediately you could be thrown in jail.
See, that-
Immediately.
but see, to me, because that could
That's
be
the
someone,
problem.
Yeah, that's just someone's opinion.
Well, and that's why
And
those
they're
laws
making
have
the
been changed.
choice, and they're making the choice to be like, you don't like the president, you get locked up.
So are
talking
you
shit,
saying that anybody
locked
should
up.
be able to say whatever they want, even if it does, even
so
if it's hateful?
This is where I draw the line. Look, I think people should be able to be.
I'm gonna catch up in chat in a minute, guys.
I think people should be basically be able to say whatever they want, right? But so if you're organizing groups of people and using your voice to incite violence and anything to like down a certain type of people, whatever, whether it's race, sex, whatever the topic is, religion. If you're using your voice to incite a detrimental effect directly to a group, like basically like a preacher or
Right.
something of that nature,
Okay.
then that should be categorized as in that hate speech thing. But if you're just posting a thing on Facebook, or you're just talking among friends, or you're on a podcast stating your opinion and you're not making call to action. I think that's another important thing. Making
Intent?
like intent, but also like call to action. So if you're making call to actions, like saying things like, well, all right, people, let's form a group and let's start a group that they'll bring slavery back. So this is what we're going to do, A, B, C, D, whatever. Okay, that would be definitely under what I would consider hate speech
Right.
towards that thing. But if you're saying, my opinion is like, fuck back black people, then that should be protected because
Right.
because if you start going down that route, you just end up in these weird fucking places that
Okay.
don't. You know what I'm saying? Does make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And so just because there's a lot of people out there, it's just like, oh, so you're defending racism. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is when, because it all starts with how you react to something. And when someone is blatantly being racist to try to hurt somebody's feelings, I do think that is wrong. But at the same time, how I react to that is my choice to react to that. If I know if I want it just to roll off my back or whatever, then that's different. If I didn't do anything to warrant somebody lashing out at me besides just walking a room and being the color that I am, their issue with me has nothing to do with me personally. And if they lash out and they're trying to get a reaction,
They're succeeding in their goal.
they're succeeding. For one, they're succeeding in the goal, but they're not entitled. I don't have to react to that.
Yeah.
You feel me? I don't have to
But you
even give it a
choose.
thought.
You choose not to.
Right, because it's not a big deal to me. Because
but
that
people-
person's being ignorant. They have issues, and
But
I know
anybody
I'm not
that
the problem.
does choose to react because their rights are being infringed upon has
That's
that
their
right
choice
as well.
to react to that. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying there are those people. There's a few types of people. There are people that.
Real quick, why is their rights being infringed upon based on speech? Now, I'm not saying they're not getting a job or not, like if they're being discriminated, that's a right issue.
Right. Well, discrimination
or
and
loss-
racism is different.
Yeah, but like under that line.
Yeah,
But saying anything, how does that affect my rights? If he said
It's the same as shouting obscenities in the library. That's illegal. You can get arrested for it.
that's more disturbing piece, I think.
But it's infringing upon other people's rights.
Of
If
what-
it wasn't,
besides-
it wouldn't be illegal if it wasn't.
But what right is it infringing upon? Is my question. Like, what is it real other than disturbing piece and like other than that? Like obviously shouting whatever in the thing
Right.
and disturbing peace, that's against the law. But like the content of what they're saying, why is that infringing upon anyone's rights?
Because hate speech is illegal.
Okay, but that's what we're questioning here.
Right.
That's not because
But what makes it illegal?
not just because it's illegal.
Right.
Like, what is the mechanism
What
behind
makes it?
it?
And trust me, with people that are in the chat room or anybody that listens to this in the future, I'm not condoning people.
He is.
As y'all know,
He hates cracker ass crackers.
right. I was raised by white people, man. My thing is this. Me personally, and the only thing I can speak on is me personally, is I love everybody, man. I don't care where you come from. I want to learn where you come from so we don't have so many, like, the differences that we have, I find, are a beautiful thing because it gives me a chance to learn your differences. Like, for instance, Unicorn loves football. His version of football, which we call soccer, they call football, and that's cool. Whatever. I
No,
want to
it's
learn
not.
that. It might not be something that I'm into, but he's from a different place. I want to know the culture, everything. Anybody. I mean, if you're
Thanks for the
Better,
gosh, that's so scary.
get a better perspective on
get
him and
the problem is people aren't willing to open up enough to learn. Okay, you're angry. Well, it would be my choice too to be like, well, why are you angry? Let's sit down and talk about it. But it's also somebody's choice to get pissed off and then retaliate because they get defensive. You know what I'm saying?
And
So
I think it's better to like stay super calm. I think
Yeah.
the outcome is moves us forward to as a
So much
society
better.
and people. If you stay calm, if
Yes.
all you do is react to it and get pissed,
yeah.
So
where does that leave you? It doesn't leave
it just
you anywhere.
leaves you mad, and then the separation becomes even more. And let's say it is somebody who's like, fuck black people. And they're saying that because of a personal experience they've had. But you wouldn't even know that if you get pissed and be like, fuck you then. Well, no, fuck you. Now you're on this level when you could have just been like, man, I don't know why you feel that way, but let's talk about it. What's good? Why do you have this? And so at the end of that conversation, that person might have a better outlook on, okay, well, not all black people. What happened is this.
What the
But
shit
people
is
can't
going
get
on?
to that point because they're too busy getting offended
Wasn't there
and making the choice to be mad at
wasn't
it.
there
It's-
wasn't there a black priest, or maybe he wasn't a priest?
I want to catch him on chat real quick before we continue.
Yeah.
While Sean's thinking of his thought. Undead Unicorn a long time ago. So like I said, I disagree with racism fundamentally, but unless you actively threaten someone, I think you should be allowed to say it. Juicebox Hero said, I would highly doubt that someone was sentenced to prison over a Facebook post, as it cannot be proven in court that it was actually you that posted it, so he or she had to do something else
That's happened
that
before.
had some way in court. Yes, it is true. Facebook posts have been used in court against somebody before. Undead Unicorn said it 100% happened, and it's not a one-off case. Probably happens way more commonly in other countries than America. In America, it's probably a lot harder to prove, but it can happen. Just like text, it's not admissible in court. Undead Unicorn said, all of my examples getting flagged by Automod because he keeps using quotations to explain what he's talking about, and it's being considered hate speech by Twitch.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Damn.
So he said,
That
like,
sucks.
another example, this got flagged, is a man who was fined 500 pounds for teaching his dog to sig heil for a joke.
Yeah, you know about that case, right? That was big news,
What happened?
international news.
A man was fined 500 pounds for teaching his dog to sig heil.
And he was thrown in
As a
jail
joke?
too, wasn't he? I'm almost 100% sure he got like a year in prison for it.
See, that to me is silly. Not that.
You mean, yeah, he had because his girlfriend loved the dog or
Yeah.
whatever a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And he thought it'd be funny to make a YouTube video
Of
the
his dog doing that,
the
yeah.
Sing Heil, which
Now, I
It's
don't think any of
hilarious.
us. I don't think any of us should pass judgment on, as far as like, what level of trouble he gets in for that.
he shouldn't gotten any. Like, at least, I mean, UK has some weird laws,
Right.
But like,
To
that's just-
me-
the dog is not going. Having a dog going Sing Heil is not going to make anyone go. I think I'm gonna become a Nazi because
but
this
at the s-
dog.
right,
did-
but at the same time, I think
Get outta here.
anytime you bring up Zing or whatever that is, anytime you bring that
Sig
up,
Heil.
yeah, anytime you bring that up, I think because of what it represents to people, they automatically get into
Yeah.
a zone like, oh, fuck that. So it doesn't matter what it could be, teaching a bird to do it. It could be teaching
It's
a
giving
lizard.
magic
Especially
It
powers.
has
anybody that's-
nothing to
that's
do with the actual
off-white.
dog. It has to do with the subject of what the guy's teaching.
the context
That's what
of what's
people are
going on.
mad at. Right. It's not
Right.
the dog that they don't give a fuck about that. It's why would you teach a dog to do that? That's what they're getting offended over. And it's like, well, don't.
because
I
it
mean,
was funny.
yeah. I mean,
If
you
if
know.
a
I didn't
comedian-
find it amusing.
Well, some people don't. Some people do.
But if,
you
but
know,
there's,
and that's
I guarantee you
that's
there's a ton of comedians that could have made that exact joke, and,
Right.
You know, and they would have gotten a free pass because they're
Right.
a comedian,
right.
but because it's a YouTuber.
I don't know if they'd gotten a free pass in today's society.
I think
Maybe
think,
25 years ago, Eddie Murphy could have done it. If a black person did it, or somebody of color, or anybody that's not white did it, it could be. It would have been taken in a comical sense. But if somebody that might have ties to a KKK group or a racist organization, it definitely would not be funny.
I think,
It's all everything's
but
in
it's
context.
also how it's presented. So I think if Joe Rogan Joe Rogan on his last special made some stuff that people would get super offended over, right?
But it's Joe Rogan. He gets a pass.
That's my point. Like,
Yeah.
so if it's
But do they get a
If
pass
it-
because he's a star? Or do they get a pass because they know he's not a dude full of hate, though?
And that's why. Like that's my
Yeah,
point. If
he's a
the
comedian.
Grand Dragon Wizard of the KKK taught his dog how to do
Oh,
it,
yeah, for sure,
everybody would be offended.
yeah, that's
Within-
all
But it would be
context.
expected, though, that because it's within context.
Yeah.
Racist people.
I
I mean,
teach
you would
racist
expect him
shit,
to do
you
something
know
like
what I mean?
that, but
And
and that's why I say if Eddie Murphy taught his dog how to do it, we're like a black man teaching his dog how to sig heil.
Oh,
Obviously,
that's hilarious.
that just means
So-
if he followed it up with some context, like my dog bites Mexicans,
Well,
my
shit,
dog's
what's his
racist.
face? Not even that long ago did it. Did this basically the exact same thing. Not Eddie Murphy.
Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle.
When he was a blind black dude
And-
who was a racist against black
and he
people,
listened to
and he
Ku Klux
divorced
Klan?
his wife because
Yeah.
she found out
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
a nigger lover.
That's
yeah,
the exact
that's
same thing.
hilarious
There's
to me.
There's no difference between that sketch and that character that he was creating than this guy making a YouTube video that he clearly explained from the beginning of the video, like, my girlfriend loves the dog, so to fuck with her, I'm gonna do this because it's funny. And people are like, oh, it's not. Like, what the fuck? Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Like that
I don't see why it would have been
story
blown up, but at the
angry.
same time, I can see why somebody could be pissed off.
I can see both sides of it as well.
You can
yeah.
be pissed off all you want, but why throw this guy in jail?
That's true. Undead Unicorn said hate speech laws that we should have euthanized the dog. Hate speech laws that aren't direct threats is a very, very slippery slope. Dad said, we had a delegation on buses headed for a plane to Brussels and Afghanistan. Trump canceled their plane and they are returning to the capital. This just happened a few minutes ago. I just looked it up. The bastard. He says they should not get to travel during the shutdown. Our troops are not taking time off.
Hey, Jeff.
So we had Nancy Pelosi and a bunch of a delegation that was going to fly to Afghanistan, Brussels, and Egypt to visit with troops. But Trump said, no, you can't. Although he was able to go visit troops a few weeks ago and hand out some MAGA hats, which is illegal. Oh, it's Mom. And then she says, attitude is always a choice. Gustav said, oh, great. It's your decision to be offended bullshit again. Gustav, have you been here before? We always say it's your decision to be offended. I think that was a stat.
Does he not agree, though?
Taking shots at, I don't know.
No, I mean, I'd like to know,
Undead
'cause
Unicorn,
I'd like to know how
there's a
people
lot
think.
of chat I need to
Oh,
catch
okay, I
up
got
on. Undead
you.
Unicorn said, do you disagree, Gustav? Juicebox Hero said, if I'm correct, that if retaliation was taken after the N-word was dropped, both parties would be in trouble for assault. The other may be hate speech or verbal assault, and I'm going to get into that for a second
Right,
because
and
I
I'm
just
not
touch on that
agreeing.
real quick.
Yeah, and I'm not agreeing with with Denver. What I'm saying is, as far as the laws go, we're strictly talking about reaction to an action of something. I don't condone violence at all.
So in Washington,
I like to sit down and talk it out.
in Washington, there's two interesting factors. We have mutual combat law, which
Yeah.
allows you, if both parties agree to combat,
Exactly.
then
Yeah.
that could take place. But then there's also another thing where, especially in domestic, or in some domestic situations, but just in general, the more aggressor tends to go to jail. And I have an example of that.
Yes.
When I was dating Tamra, and her and
I thought we were using false names
I
for
don't give a rat's ass.
All right.
It's not with her anyway.
And her sister.
She's a piece of work.
So Tamra started the physical altercation between her and her sister, but her sister went to jail because she was the more aggressive.
She was the more
Even
aggressive
though
of the two.
Tamra threw the first punch
Right.
and attacked her first,
Right.
and her sister just kept coming back and back and back. Her sister went to jail. Like, cops came out,
Yeah.
and they both admitted, like, yeah, I started it, blah blah. And the sister's like, yeah, I just kept coming back. Well, and so she's like, well, I was defending myself, but she kept going. Was
Right.
the thing. So it's different in every state. So if you're gonna start physical altercations, you should, or if you're gonna be in one, you should probably know the laws.
Yeah.
But anyway, continue.
Well,
point.
I looked up hate speech while you guys were talking about it, and in the United States does not have hate speech laws, since American courts have repeatedly ruled the laws criminalizing hate speech violate the guarantee to freedom of speech contained in the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. There are several categories of speech that are not protected by the First Amendment, such as speech that calls for imminent violence upon a person or group.
That's what he was saying. Yeah.
However, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that hate speech is not one of these categories. Court rulings often must be re-examined to ensure the U.S. Constitution is being upheld in the ruling on whether or not the words count as a violation. Proponents of hate speech legislation in the United States have argued that freedom of speech undermines the 14th Amendment by bolstering an oppressive narrative, which means equality and the Reconstructive Amendment's purpose of guaranteeing equal protection under the law.
So let me ask you this real quick, Big.
Yeah.
So if
You want my
someone-
personal opinion or
Yeah.
scientific fact?
No. So let's say an across the street neighbor came out. Like you were outside. Let's say you were outside smoking or just maybe cleaning your truck or whatever. And he comes out and he goes, I hate white crackers. And he's staring at you and he just says, I hate white crackers.
Okay.
And then your react at that point in time, do you feel that he should be arrested for saying that?
No.
Okay. Would you have a different feeling? And this was, let's say your across the way neighbor is a black guy that says that. Should he be arrested for saying that?
No.
Okay. If it's a white guy, should he be arrested for saying it? I don't think
No.
so either. Now, however that makes you feel, because you're going to feel a certain way, regardless whether it's anger, irritation, or maybe laughter, because, whatever you're feeling, that's something you can't control. But how you then react to that person is a choice you make, right? You can continue just looking at them laughing and then go back to cleaning your shit, or you can go up to them and really, poke the bear, stir the pot, whatever, and then start a physical altercation, which then gets into bigger things.
Well, you know me, bro.
Oh, I know you.
I'm gonna turn it into
but
something
for the
much
greater
bigger
of
than it
good,
was.
what do you think should be done in a situation like that?
My short answer is no, he shouldn't go to jail, but yes, there should be a penalty.
There should be some sort of penalty for it.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe if I am inclined to call the police, which I wouldn't in a case like that.
Right.
But if, let's say me and Maya walked outside and it was a white guy from across the street and said, "Why do you have a half-breed kid?"
Right.
I'm going to dial 911 and I want to get a cop to get over here and I want a cop to look at that guy and say, "Look, if this happens again,
Right.
this is going to be a warning. But if
Right.
it happens again, you're going to be penalized. There's
And
going to
that
be a
would
ticket. There's going to
absolutely
be a
your
court
right
date.
to do that.
I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
wondering under what thing does he get a ticket? Like, I mean, obviously, it would be under some. It wouldn't be under.
It wouldn't be
whatever
under
would
hate crime. It would be under something.
random, weird,
Yeah.
obscure thing that has essentially nothing to do with what you're going after.
Right. Right.
So it's
and
like
he would get a fine and a slap on the wrist, and then it wouldn't stop him from doing it again.
So Gustav said that's paranoia as a result of misinformation. I'm not sure what he was referring to because it was a long time ago and you guys wouldn't let me stop to catch up with chat. Jukebox Hero said, I broke the podcast. Gustav said, unlike most other words, because of its history, the N-word is offensive and hateful by default. It's up to the speaker to introduce a context in which it wouldn't be. Same with the F-word. Gustav then said, it absolutely makes you a racist, even without the N-word. What the hell are you on about? Not quite sure what that was referring to. It could have been a lot of things. Jenny said, Undead Unicorn said the point isn't if it makes you racist or not. The point is, should you be punished by law for it? Jenny said they could just be afraid. Probably the white person not wanting to sit at the table with the black folk.
Okay, yeah.
Gustav said the gray area is much smaller than you make it out to be. Of course, it should be punished by law. And I do agree with that. Arrested? Maybe not, but there should be some sort of penalty. Undead Unicorn said unless it's a direct threat. Why, though? Undead Unicorn said, my number one favorite quote is, even though I disagree with what you say, I will defend to the death your right to say it. Voltaire. I stand by that quote as a philosophy, Gustav said, because aggression isn't only expressed via direct violence threats. Laws that rule on that are not hate speech laws, those are a completely different thing. That's an absolutely intolerable behavior in society. Jenny said, but does that mean they hate black people? Undead Unicorn said, why can't we tolerate the intolerant? Gustav said that's why we have judges. Read the sentence a few more times till it sinks in, because race is a protected class. Jeff in the box said, how goes it, guys? What up, Jeff? You came in at a really awkward time.
That's why I said, hey, Jeff.
Automod, Juicebox Hero said, I love everyone, so you love me? Haha, fag. That got...
oh, boy. That's a whole nother
That
topic.
got blocked, but I just...
Well, I mean, it's
it.
under the same print.
It's
Like
under
whether
the-
you're talking
yeah.
about race.
Gustav said that's so
sexuality, whatever.
irrelevant to the discussion, and nothing is irrelevant to our discussions. Everything relates in one way, shape, or form. And we can start talking about colors and end up talking about numbers. And then from there, for some reason, we talk about mushrooms. And then from there, we talk
Jeff,
about
my dude.
politics. So it's really weird. UK hate speech laws are ridiculous. I could be arrested for things I've said on the internet, said Undead Unicorn. Gustav said it's everyone's duty to act like Socrates when it comes at you with racial slurs. Got it. Socrates.
I just
Socrates.
What does that mean?
Turn the other cheek.
Okay. I agree.
And it also isn't
I think
it
it was being
case by case
sarcastic.
too. Everything is subjective to a point, but I think it's also a case by case situation. Now, if a group of guys were walking down the street
Rage Queen, what up?
And it happened to be whatever race, I don't care, a race other than my own. And then as those guys were walking by me, and let's say they were just like, you know, they said some crazy shit against black people or whatever. It's fucked up, absolutely. But to what point do you draw the line that you do call the cops? Like you were saying, if Little Miss Maya was outside with you and someone said some shit, is it at that level you call the cops, or would it be that level that I just spoke of the 4 guys that makes me feel threatened or whatever? Do I call the cops then because of what they're saying? What Sean was saying earlier, it's a huge fucking vortex, dude, to go down. And not that it doesn't deserve to be talked about or deserve to be brought to the forefront, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to fix the problem. But at the same time, and again, I can only speak on myself. At the same time, I can only think of, if I didn't do anything to justify you lashing out at me, I'm not going to take what you're saying. I'm going to take it with a grain of salt and keep it moving. You know what I mean? But that's just me, and I know not everybody thinks that way. And
the next day, you're not going to think 2 shits about it.
Right. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
Yeah.
You know.
But a lot of people will. A lot of people are gonna dwell over it.
Right. And
you have no right to tell somebody what they should or shouldn't feel, though.
This is true.
I'm talking about like the reaction to
right.
it.
But the reaction to it, and if they feel like
it
they want
doesn't make sense to you, but they have every right to hold on and be offended for a year down the road.
Right.
Sure,
and that's
but
where we need to connect more. The people
you
that
can question that all day, but who are you to question him in the first place?
But that's where we need to connect more. That's my point. Is I'm able to just let shit roll off my back because it's not that big of a deal. There are other people that can't, and that's fine. That's okay. It's not better either or. It's not what the point is. But for the people that do want to retaliate and they do want to call the cops and they do want to do all this stuff, that's their right, and that's awesome. But if there's going to be animosity between the people who let it roll off their back and the people that don't let it roll off their back, those people need to sit down and say, okay, well, why do you feel that you need to do this? And the people that don't really care and let it roll off their back, they need to be able to be like, well, this is why I don't really care if people say what they want to say, and then find some kind of common ground. But the problem is, I'm not trying to convince you to think like me, and you're not trying to convince me to think like you. It's just a common ground thing. But then where does the law come in? You know what I mean?
Right.
Or what side is the law?
It.
That's what's difficult.
I absolutely get it.
And then what Sean was saying, it's a huge vortex to go down and talk about. You know?
But if you're letting like your whole life be ruled by this losing sleep, like basically you're letting every person, like where would you be if every time somebody said some racist remark or treated you a certain way, and you just kept that thing, like where would you be with like how many friends would you that would affect your daily your life,
right,
to a point where it's not benefiting you in any way.
If anything, you're moving backwards.
That's easy for somebody to say, but there's so many things that people dwell on in life that doesn't benefit them in any way.
I can dwell on a lot of shit. I get pulled over constantly, and I'm not one to throw that race card out there.
You deserve it, bro. You're a shitty driver.
But no, I'm not a shitty driver.
You are a shitty driver,
no,
bro.
I'm really
You
not.
can't even update the fucking tags on your car, bro.
No, I can. But the city is that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother fucking story.
I know,
the city just wants money. Anyway.
Hold on, wait, before you get on to your tangent, can we have to keep caught up, because we're going to end up getting comments in here that pertain to something, and then we're going to be so far
Domestic violence is a little bit different.
Juicebox Zero said, kind of a funny fact, in Germany, if you escape from jail, prison, etc., you will not receive any extra time, as in Germany, they have laws that say people have a right to be free from institutions. Gustav said, I don't have the links, but you're welcome to look into it. It's the Supreme Court in Scotland that has the stricter rules, not the whole of the UK. Undead Unicorn lives in Britain, so I think he knows what the laws are. But the same laws carry over in England. Gustav said, as I said, you're welcome to look into it. Old Mom said that was back to Mom. I'm not quite sure what that was in reference to.
Rage Queen.
Rage Queen. Hey, what up, Rage Queen? Appreciate you being here. Jeff in the box said, hey, D, said, what's up, the true MVP. Then Cacti also, can't forget the Cacti. Undead Unicorn said, I've been verbally attacked because of my race, but I didn't even think about calling the police on them. Gustav said, a lot of domestic abuse victims probably feel the same way too. Not quite sure. It's very pertinent, but not quite sure what that was in reference to. Skep Talk Live said, greetings all. What up, Skep? Rage Queen. You know I don't understand everything. I think Rage Queen's in Germany, I believe. Juicebox Heroes. The D. I really admire your determiner in this.
Thank you.
Probably demeanor, but
I appreciate it. I mean, everyone deserves to be heard regardless
And we're
whether what
fucking
they're
caught up.
saying
How about
you
that?
like or not, because I'm all about communication and common ground, because at the end of our conversation, we might not see eye to eye, but let's go get something to eat afterwards and fuck it. You know, you're going to think
Trying to
how you
remember.
think, I'm going to think how I think, you know. But that doesn't mean I'm going to not kick it with you or something like that if you have certain opinions on things. Now, if your character...
bro, you stopped kicking it with me over opinions on people that I like and don't like years ago.
When? No, I just stopped kicking it with it with you when you're around them. That's all. That's all that is. That ain't-
Wait a minute, who? I was being sarcastic.
No, I'm saying in a situation like that, that's what would happen. I wouldn't be mad at you. I would just stop kicking it with you when you're around
No,
those
it
people.
sounds like you're talking about somebody specific.
No. See, now this is what you do. You like to stir that pot and poke that bear. It don't work with me. But but what I'm saying is everyone deserves to be heard, even if someone says something totally slanderous or totally off the cuff that's totally, it's like, yo, why did you even say that? I want to know.
Thanks for the cheer.
That scares me every time. I'd like to know why you're angry at that. I'm not one to want to blow up because, how's that saying go? Violence just begets more violence.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing in arguments, right?
Yeah.
If you're not willing to think past what somebody said and get to the root of why they said it, there's a difference. And that's just the type of dude I am. You know what I mean? Because I don't like conflict with anybody.
Unfortunately, so many people are so shallow thinkers.
They are, and
They like to hang out. They refuse to go to deep waters. They just hang out in the
Right.
kiddie pool because it's okay and somewhat
Right.
safe here. This is my area. If
I
go
can
in the-
touch the bottom. Everything's
There might be
safe and
sharks
cool.
over there. I'm gonna stay away from that because I don't want to. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's just the way they think. They're shallow thinkers.